Welcome to a parallel project training APM Project Management qualification podcast based on the APM Body of Knowledge 6th edition. You should be using this in conjunction with our e-learning, study guide and potentially a tutor-led course. For more information, please visit www.parallelprojecttraining.com.
Hello, my name's Paul Neighbour and I'm with John Bolton. Hello, John.
Hello.
And we're doing APMP Project Management podcasts. So we got to the business case. Explain the purpose of the business case and its importance during the project lifecycle, and describe who has authorship and ownership of the business case. So the business case is a sponsor document, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the justification for the project, isn't it?
Often authorises the funding.
Yeah, it justifies the funding, doesn't it? Justifies the case for the funding. So the whole idea of a business case is that it's optioneering, isn't it? It takes a number of options and slowly refines and develops understanding of all the options until you get one that you recommend.
Yes, that's right.
And it's that one that then goes on, becomes the project.
That's right.
So you get loads of problems or ideas or opportunities that people think about, but they might not have any legs. Mm-hmm. And the rigour of the business case is intended to drive out whether or not they're worth doing. And that's it, really. That's what the business case is for, isn't it?
Yeah.
You slowly knock the edges off all the ideas, and eventually, for the chosen option, you define what you think you're going to need. Mm-hmm. You know, so I want to stop people who are dying of thirst in the desert. I could build a pipeline, buy some lorries, bottle the water, make it rain, move them out of the desert. There's lots of things you can do. Each of those will have various pros and cons, risks associated with them. You evaluate all of them to a point where you can dismiss some of them, and then eventually you're left with one, or possibly one or two.
The best one.
And then you might, I suppose you might go and recommend, we could do this or we could do that, and then the business decides. But I think generally speaking, the intention is that you just end up with one, and the team that generates the business case says, this is what we should do.
That's right.
And then for that one, so we're going to build a pipeline, and then you go on and you say, right, it's going to go from here to here, it's going to be this big, it's going to pump this amount of water, we need it in this time scale, and for it to be a success, it's got to achieve this. Mm-hmm. And that's it, really. So it's all pretty straightforward. If you had to reserve a word for the business case, it would be why, wouldn't it? Why are we doing it?
Why are we doing it? Yes, that's right.
Whereas the project management plan is, how are we going to do it?
Yes. So there's quite a lot of links, I think, in this back to our requirements management. So it runs in parallel with requirements management, looking at the different options and seeing which of those meet the requirements. And then it's the mechanism for getting authority for the project to proceed to the next stage, really.
Yes.
It's an ongoing thing, the business case as well. I think if you look at the site life cycle, it sort of appears it just happens once.
Yes.
But actually, in real life, you tend to have a business case. It develops. So it's a high-level business case at the beginning. People will do a rough and ready. That's what you see in Dragon's Den, really. I mean, they're doing what do they want to know? They want to know how long are you going to take, how much money am I going to get, what are the risks,
that's right.
And is your plan credible? And so then they'll refine that business case as the project through the concept phase, and right the way through the project. So.
Well, that's it. That's it, basically, isn't it? How much money am I going to get?
When am I going to get it?
When am I going to get it? How much is it going to cost?
And what are the risks?
What are the risks?
And is it credible? Is the plan credible, really?
Yeah. So, in terms of the people that put the business case together, there's the sponsor who oversees the construction of it. I suppose for a fairly simple job, they might do it themselves.
Yes.
Might do.
Yes.
If they're knowledgeable and capable.
Yes.
I think they generally need some help from other people. You might get a project manager to physically write it, I suppose.
Yes, and sometimes they're called a
business
development
analyst
manager
or development manager
or concept development.
That's
right.
right.
So they're sometimes called something different from project manager.
You generally have to go to suppliers. So you ask suppliers for their input. They'll tell you how much things are going to cost and when they can be done. Users generally help you describe what it is they want.
Through the requirements process.
That's right. So that's right. Mm-hmm. And then you might need some subject matter experts like procurement specialists or lawyers or intellectual property people or marketing people.
Yes, we're going to talk about procurement later, aren't we? Because I think quite often the procurement strategy supports the business case as well, because if you don't know how you're going to go and acquire the product, it's really hard to know what the assumptions for the business case are. So
Yeah, I think the procurement strategy is a funny document, really, because your project is radically different depending if you decide to make it or buy it.
that's right.
And so your procurement strategy is core.
That's right. That's right.
To
the whole delivery approach.
Yeah, that's right. It sits along. I think it sits alongside the project management plan. Because it's
in some ways precedes it.
Yeah. So quite often people quite often buying consultants to write business cases for them, and
Yes.
they because it's a fairly sort of well developed ability, isn't it? It's a lot of organisations might only do a project every blue moon.
Yes.
So all these specialist skills aren't necessarily readily available to
Yes,
them. So
that's right. So
and then the other thing you need to think about is how it develops through the life cycle, how it evolves, if you like. And we were talking about this yesterday, and it's about how the project management plan is generated alongside the business case.
yes,
And the two of them sort of like the Gemini twins,
evolve.
whoever they are. But they
Gemini.
develop Gemini.
Star sign.
Yeah, I know that, but what? Oh, okay. So yeah, so they sort of evolve together, don't they? And but the project management plan describes the how am I going to do, the why, and the business case. But as you go through the project, the sponsor's going to want to make sure that the project management plan is not diverging as a consequence of changes from the business case. So if real life starts to change our plans, then we need to continually reflect that in the business case, because we might just have undermined the reason for doing the project. And during handover and closeout, you're going to be checking back against the business case to make sure that what you said you were going to do, you've done.
Yes.
In terms of the business case deliverables, the high level deliverables. And then thereafter, it's the business case that's going to be checked by the sponsor during benefits realisation to make sure that all the predicted benefits are actually in danger of being achieved.
Danger of being achieved. Good. Typical questions.
Describe the components of a business case. Describe the author ownership of the business case.
Purpose of a business case.
Of it. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward question, really.
Yes, that's right.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast and found it informative. To order a study guide, e-learning, or a tutor-led course to go with this podcast, please visit www.parallelprojecttraining.com.